Welcome to Can You Believe It? Episode number 2 of a show we started last week to discuss all of the issues that we in the Liberty Movement and any tyranny perpetrated against we the people across this ever-shrinking globe. This is the venue we're going to have those discussions about. And again, this is episode number 2 on Monday, February 17th, 2014. My name is Roger Landry, and I am the founder of the Liberty Beacon Project, and I'm joined every week by someone who will be hosting this venue with me as we continue forward, and that is Barry Prince. How are you today, Barry?
Great, Roger. How are you guys doing? Thanks for joining us, folks, tonight and sharing our thoughts and our opinions and feelings with you.
And we have a special guest with us this evening, and it doesn't matter how many times I hear this lady talk. And I don't know if she's with us quite yet, but our guest this evening is going to be Pattie Walkinturtle, who is a host from TCT Radio Network. This is probably one of the wisest people I've talked to. And it's not so much that I'm not telling you that she's any smarter than anybody else, but the wisdom she has accumulated over the years, the discussions she can have, and the different subjects that she can talk to are all phenomenal. Wouldn't you say, Barry?
Yeah, Roger, I went, first time I ever tuned into radio on the internet was about a year ago, and I had the pleasure of meeting Pattie. And she puts out invitations to join her on the radio all the time, and I got on the radio with her, and she has really, really impacted a lot of my thinking and the ways I see things in life. She is such a good soul and full of love, and I'm looking forward to listening to her talk tonight. We're trying to get her in right now, but we're having a busy signal, so we'll continue to try. But yeah, always love listening to Pattie. Her analogies and her thoughts about life are just great. So we're looking forward to pulling her in here in a minute, and we'll just have to wait till we get her here. We're trying to pull her in right now, Roger. Yeah, she's great, guys. You're going to enjoy listening to Pattie.
What I haven't mentioned so far, Barry, is the topic for this evening. And what we're going to be discussing is something that you and I are familiar with. I've done a lot of work here. This is the premise of the Liberty Beacon Project itself. And today's subject is the global liberty movement, unity, our path to victory. And let me expound on that just a little bit. We all know how much money the quote-unquote elite has. Basically, they control the money, all of the money on this planet. They control the central banks. They control the military-industrial complex. They control... So they have an unlimited amount of resources. For us as individual organizations in this movement to try and go up against what we quote-unquote term the elite is suicide. We're not going to accomplish anything. You've got a group of 5,000 people, you won't even put a dent. You've got a group of 100,000 people, you'll barely put a dent. But what we do have is 7.5 billion people. And if we, what I would like to call, accumulate a critical mass, which is even 10 to 15% of this population, what we have is a force, a motivated force, with the ability to push back at a point where we can no longer be ignored. Would you agree, Barry?
I agree, Roger. And just for you folks to know, I only had a pleasure of meeting Roger here about, I guess it's 2 months now we've known each other. And when I first met Roger, he kind of laid out to me the whole theory and thinking behind the Liberty Beacon Project. And it kind of really grabbed my thinking a lot because, like you said, Roger, we have thousands and thousands of groups around the world right now that are liberty movement groups, liberty-minded individuals. And what we're trying to do here is to bring all these people together under one voice so that we can bring millions and millions and millions of people together so our voices can be heard. And this is what I see we're doing forward. The growth in the Liberty Beacon Project here since I've been involved has been exponential, to say the least. Incredible individuals getting involved, intelligent individuals, radio stations coming online. We're, like I said, Roger will tell you, we're setting up websites all over the world here in the next 3 to 4 months. And I just see this thing exploding, and its time is now because we are running out of time, guys. Roger, we are
Uh,
joined by Patty now.
we are. And let me do a short intro for this very, very wise and oh so pleasant to listen to lady. When I first met Patty, I was not aware first that she is a Native American. I was not aware of many things. But after the first 5 minutes of conversation with her, I did realize that she has a slow, methodical way of stating things. And you can literally feel the wheels turning in her head as she talks, as she puts all of the pieces of many years of experience together. She thinks about everything that comes out of her mouth, and it always makes sense. Patty, it is always great to have you or to invite you into a conversation because you always add such depth to the conversation. How are you today, my friend?
Um, I'm doing very well, thank you, and thank you very much for that intro. Um, I'm kind of wordless. I have no words at this time.
Really?
Yeah,
Well,
I know that's
chalk one
hard to
up for
believe.
me.
Yeah, hard to believe. But thank you very much, Roger, and I want to thank Paula and Barry for the work you guys are doing and for bringing me into the fold. I'm really happy to be here. I was running a little bit late, but I made it. Turtle time. What can I say? But I'm gonna I'm gonna sit right now and be quiet for a minute and catch the conversation up, and then I'll step in if that's okay.
Oh, that's just fine because you'll know exactly when it's time for you to jump in. What I'd like to do is tell everybody a little bit about, again, each week we try to give a little bit of an update on the project, where we are and what we're doing. At this point in time, we are at 4 podcast shows. We're about to expand to 7 radio shows. We have 6 websites up and running, and we have plans to get another 3 to 4 up within the next 30 to 60 days. So this is an explosion in growth. And what we're seeing is on a daily basis, we have people approaching me because I'm basically the bobblehead. I'm the founder of the organization, and I'm the PR guy. I have no problems talking. Anybody who's ever listened to
I think we've lost Roger there, Paula.
Getting them back right now.
All right. Did I fade away?
Yeah, you kind of.
Okay. So basically, let me put into perspective what the tasks are for both Barry and Patty Walkinturtle. Barry is our director of radio media, and as that's growing, he's finding out that it's a whole lot more than he ever expected. And he might have bitten off more than he could chew, but I got to tell you, he's a very intelligent individual. And as we go forward, Barry, I think you've got a lot of interesting things ahead of you. As far as is concerned, Patty Walkinturtle is our ambassador at large. She will spend some time working with all of her contacts around the world, and she has quite a few, and a lot of the contacts that the project already has, acting as an ambassador to this project and bringing them into the fold as partners or affiliates or part of the project so that we can join forces. If we don't, we'll never, ever succeed at what we're doing. And the show tonight is, as I explained, the global unity, our path to victory. Without unity, we have none. And with that, I would like to hear what Barry has to say. And then as soon as you're done, Barry, let's bring Patty in because Patty always has something good to say about unity, especially on a global level.
Yeah, she always does, and I'm of course always love listening to Patty talk. I've had lots of chances to talk to her in the past. Yeah, Roger. Look, the only way I see us achieving our objective is by unification, and like I said earlier, we have lots of liberty movements in the world right now, but to be able to bring them under one banner where we're all focusing on one point to express our feelings and our concerns and our message to the world. I feel that will have an impact. We need to get millions and millions and millions of voices together. And like you said, one person or a group of people standing by themselves is never going to be heard. This has got potential to change the planet, guys. Patty, what do you think about that?
Well, this is my favorite topic of all. Imagine that.
No kidding. No kidding, Patty.
I picked this topic for tonight, and you as the guest, Patty. Nothing is by accident with us.
It is on my network. You should come over there. No, just kidding. But you know, it's the truth. If we want to get down to the bare base, to where we have something to begin with, a foundation in which to build upon, that would have to be truth. It would have to be truth, because that is what we do not have today. If we are ever to climb above the quagmire that we built, the degradation of our planet, the sickness that is within each and every one of us, including all our relations, not just the two-legged human form, but every single life form on this planet is suffering because of us. And I'm not pointing the fingers and saying bad people. No, what I'm saying is there is a responsibility that we have shirked. We have turned our back on the truth. We have turned our back on the reality of who and where we come from, just so that we can live a fantasy of what is not real, what cannot benefit us, and what will, if we continue to let it go, it'll destroy us. And they do this. They wrap it in a pretty package and they hand it to us. And we look at the package and we want truth. It's what we want. And if they don't tell us that they're telling us a lie, and they let us believe it's the truth, and we don't ask questions, that's not their fault, is it? That's our fault. Well, we ask the questions. We've already done that. We figured out what the problems are. We have actually figured out some solutions, not all of them, because as many people and communities that's how many solutions there are. But the thing of it is that now we have a base to start from, a foundation that we can build upon. We know what's wrong with the world. Now we got to make it right. Now we have got to go back to the responsible part of our being, why we are here. We're not here for the flat screen TV, and we're not here for the Nintendo, and we're not here to watch our children waste away in a chemical-laden electronic world. We have to do something. We have to wake up. And the way we do that is forget all that stuff. It doesn't matter. We know it's out there. It's on our back. We're carrying it. Yeah, all right. It's the elephant in the room. So what? We can't pick the elephant up, so maybe we should start thinking about doing something ourselves for us. Maybe we ought to move out and let the elephant keep the room. Maybe we should expand, Yeah, and the way we do this is we come together and we forget about the small stuff. We keep our eye on the one main goal, that there is a future, that it can be as great as you can envision if we work together, if we forget all the small stuff and only concentrate on the task at hand. Just saying.
Well, that's a good just saying. What I believe is one of the biggest issues on this planet today. And again, and I'm going to say it's ignorance. And when I state the word ignorance, I'm not talking about stupidity. Because again, stupidity is having the facts and choosing to do nothing with them. Ignorance is not having the facts, so you don't even know what to do. Where ignorance manifests itself, hatred and bigotry will always rule. Where only truth and knowledge exist, respect and compassion will reign. So open your eyes to the fact that we're all one. We're all part of the human race. We are an entity. Now, when we say that we're building a foundation with the Liberty Beacon Project, and we're reaching out, and a lot of you have heard, that have listened to any of the Liberty Beacon shows, have heard us state that by the year 2015, January 1st, 2015, we intend on having above 50 global websites set up around this planet. I'm shooting actually for a lot more than that. We are as a project, but we're going to state a goal of at least a minimum of 50. This is going to tie the globe together. But when we say that, sometimes we get pushback against that, because people are under the opinion that if everybody joins under one banner, he who controls that banner controls that organization. Nothing can be further from the truth, because any true liberty-seeking organization out there, whether they're pushing back against chemtrails, GMOs, vaccines, political tyranny, perpetual warfare, as long as they're pushing back against anything that is harming anybody, any part of humanity, our global family, then they are welcome to be a part of this project. But we are not looking for control, because anybody who belongs to a liberty-minded organization of any shape or any fashion will tell you, I don't want to give up control from one organization to fall under the control of another organization. So what we need to do is to structure this organization in a way that each and every one of these nations is represented by representatives within that nation, and that we represent each nation in a global council, or, and a lot of you are going to be familiar with this word, a Congress. So by 2015, our goal is to have an international Congress set up with representatives from each country, duly elected by the individual liberty movements within that country, to represent them in the Liberty Beacon Project. The Liberty Beacon Project will not lead that council. If we do not have individuals that are elected to that council, so be it. But what we need to assure everybody is that you're not trading one tyranny for another, because that's not a solution. That's smoke and mirrors, lies and deceit. What we intend to do is to build the structure that will allow this, to open the doors to let everybody, I don't care, we've already got a website up in Australia, already got a website up in Canada that will probably go public within the next 24 hours. The same thing in the United Kingdom. And we don't give, those sites have total autonomy. We connect together through one small input on each one of those sites, and that is the international category on each site, whereby the Liberty Beacon proper, the actual central portion of the project, puts out international articles that may be of interest to all of the individual countries. Now, what we have here, if you stop and think about that, say we get 50 websites up or 60 websites up by the 1st of February 2014, the 1st of January. What we have is a network whereby we could share information from one country to the next. Somebody in the United Kingdom could go to the site in Italy and take off of that site all of the great liberty-minded information that was put there and share it to their nation. We're going to build an international network for sharing. What do we
A clearinghouse.
A clearinghouse. And what do we hope to accomplish by this? We hope to accomplish the melding of our voices into unity. Because as I started this show, and Barry, I want you to speak to this, if we do not unify our voices, we are playing into the hands of those whose intentions are to keep us divided. The Liberty Beacon is merely, and that's probably the wrong word, the Liberty Beacon is a mechanism for unification, not control. Barry?
Yeah, I agree. And, when people first start listening to what we're trying to do here, Roger, it might sound like we're reaching for the stars, but we're not. What Roger is saying is absolutely true. We're trying to amalgamate voices around the world as a voice that will be heard in volume. And what we're doing with the Liberty Beacon Project, I honestly feel that we have the potential to reach a massive amount of people here in the next couple of years with knowledge that people need. In the Canadian edition of the Liberty Beacon, we'll be publishing Canadian news, corruption inside the governments of Canada, and et cetera, every nation in the world. We're all facing common corruption. And to be able to share knowledge from different nations, bring information together, and boy, I'll tell you, it is exciting, Roger, and I'm very, very privileged and happy to be on board with the Liberty Beacon. Patty?
Yeah, I was just getting ready to put something into the chat below when you were talking, Roger, and you were talking about what you are creating here. Uh,
We are
it
creating. You're
we
an integral of that, my friend.
right, but the structure,
Right.
the basis behind what we're doing. If I were to describe it, I would say that it is a meeting place for each and every one to be represented in what they see in their future, for one thing, how they feel they can pursue that dream, what they need to do, and activists from every part, people from every culture, and it doesn't matter what the venue is. We need the freedom of all these people to be able to come together and speak freely about what they feel are their concerns, their issues. But we're also there to lend support and to support those and to offer solutions to each and every one of us, so that because not all of us can employ certain solutions or all solutions. There are different ones for different areas that will work really well. We need to put the knowledge out there. So it's more or less a consortium of minds, toward a better future. A think tank that makes the CFR look like a kindergarten class. Um, I think that's what I think of when I think of what you're trying to do, that it's going to open the doors of communication, that we are going to be able to finally come together no matter what language we speak, no matter what our issues, somebody is there that can offer the help, the information, the solution, or something. But as long as we're divided and we're fractured into all these different areas and not all communicating, we can't we can't cohesively come together to fix those issues, to get stronger and work on the main issue. Um, I think that's what you are. It's a bringing together what the Liberty Network, the Liberty Beacon is all about, is opening that door for real progress. We've all done our homework, let's say. We know what's going on and we know what we want to do. We even have solutions and stuff. Now we need to go somewhere with it. That's what the Liberty Beacon is. It is the catalyst that brings us together to start actually building that foundation. Just saying.
I totally agree. Now, I do a thing every once in a while. I get thoughts that run through my head, and I put them down on pretty pictures, and I call them just my thoughts. And I want to read one I did about 6 months ago that speaks exactly to what we're saying. And remember, these aren't things that I sit here and brainstorm. These are things that just actually pop into my head, and I go, oh my God. And I immediately start to type up these thoughts. But this is one I did that gave me, actually was longer, and that was about maybe close to a year ago, because it was when I was originally coming up with the concept of the globalization of the Liberty Beacon Project. And it goes like this. I am blind to your race, your religion, your gender, your stature, your culture, your failures, but not to your humanity. Open your mind and your heart to me, and I will see. Now let's pick that apart for a second, okay? The mechanisms for divisiveness that are used by, and not too many people use this word, but I use it because there's no real other way to describe what I'm talking about. And when we talk about the divisiveness, this is the do-all, end-all mechanism for what I term the elite. And what are the means of divisiveness? Well, let's go through what I just said, okay? Let's go through this. Your race, your religion, your gender, your stature, your culture, your failures, but not your humanity. If you stop and consider this, each and every one of these is under attack all the time. If it's not racism, if it's not anti-religion, if it's not, all of these are mechanisms of divisiveness. When we can educate people to the fact that we are all part of an individual called the human race, an individual entity called the human race, at that point, we have a common mechanism to move forward. Go ahead, Barry.
Sorry, I was just talking to somebody there in chat. Yeah, sorry, Roger, I completely lost my train of thought here, folks, and that happens to me once in a while. You have to excuse me.
And that's why sometimes you got to ignore that chat.
Yeah,
it draws away.
It draws you away, and I got a very, very short attention span to begin with, so
all right,
you'll have to excuse me just for a sec. That's embarrassing, Roger, but we all have to laugh at each other.
Don't even worry about Pattie. What do you think of the Just My Thoughts I read?
Okay, that was kind of broken up, but I did catch the first part of it where you wanted to know what I thought of your writing, and it's right on. That should be, you would think that would be the thing that we, as a people, as a being, as a humanity, would want. That we would be, it would be automatic. It would be something that a no-brainer. But it's quite different today. I remember a time. I'm old enough. I'm lucky because I remember that part of the world when people smiled at each other, when they were willing to step out of their comfort zone to help you, when they weren't afraid to ask a question, when they weren't afraid to open their arms to you. I came up in that time, and I've watched the change to where we are today, and it hurts my heart because the children, there's no more magic for them. It's all explained. It's all digitized, there's no magic anymore. It closes your heart and it closes your mind. We have to be able to get back to the heart of the matter, and the only way we can do that is to come from the heart. It's not a hard thing to do. Whatever you have within you, whatever truth you have, it is valid. You are valid. And you mean more to me coming from a place that speaks the truth of who you are than the truth of what somebody else told you. It means more to me that you stand in your own power than stand in the shadow of somebody else's. The way we do this is we come to each other and we welcome each other. And people always tell me, you're too kind and people take advantage of you, and don't give that person money. They're just going to go out and buy whiskey or whatever. That's not my problem. It's not my fault. What is my fault is if I judge that person and I decide not to help them by what they might do, then I am the one carrying that dishonor because I did not help when I could. And this is who we need to become. We need to get back to that. We all have it. We all come from that place,
I do. And again, when we speak to getting everybody under, basically, I guess the best way to say it is the same umbrella, to protect them from the harm of the rain. And again, there's no harm in rain. Rain is actually quite beautiful. But just using the metaphor, putting everybody under one umbrella. The first thing we need to overcome is the ignorance. Because through ignorance, that's where bigotry and hatred come from. And no matter what we do, until we alleviate the ignorance, we don't really gain anything. We make no forward progress. So one of our main missions, one of our main intentions is to alleviate ignorance. It's to educate. And how do we educate? What we do is we set up, basically each one of these websites is a newspaper. And it has multiple categories in it. Okay, it has categories for you who against chemtrails. It has a category in there for you who rail against vaccines, for you who rail against GMOs, for you who rail against political tyranny. And that harms humanity has a place, a welcomed place within the Liberty Beacon Project. So we put these newspapers up across the planet, and they don't mainstream media, and they don't powerful elite, and they don't belong to the governments. They belong to people like you and me, what we like to call the boots on the ground faction. And who runs these websites? These are everyday people. Who contributes to these websites? These are everyday share which we spell ignorance. Some the effort is it being on a very small faction by a lot of liberty-minded groups and health-related groups across this planet? Yes, it is. But where's the interconnectivity? How do they connect together? How do we reach out and hold hands and lock arms with our brothers? Not only across this country, somebody needs to step up and do that. Why is the Liberty Beacon Project doing this? We're doing this because it has to be done. What do we hope to gain from this? Not monetary gain, not power, not fame and fortune. What we hope to gain is a unity of voice. Because once we've accomplished that, we've accomplished a whole hell of a lot, more than anybody has accomplished to date. And it's not the Liberty Beacon Project accomplishing this, it's humanity accomplishing this, because we are working for humanity as a whole. We are working with humanity as a whole. So again, unification is only going to be done through dispelling ignorance. So we will educate. That is the reason for these websites. And when people say, why do you put so many websites up? Why doesn't everybody have one section on one website? Because that denotes, again, control. Who does that website belong to? That website belongs to the Liberty Beacon Project. And by that, we set down rules that need to be followed on our website. That's unacceptable. What is acceptable is for each individual country to have its own autonomous website, all tied together in a network, a willingly shared network. Barry?
Perfect analogy. And you're right, Roger. Like, what I see happening right now, Roger, is we talked about this before, a major acceleration on all of the attacks across the planet. We've seen, I've really noticed this in the last couple of years, and of course it's all in front of us, black and white, if you do the research. Major accelerations by the guys behind the curtains, we'll call them. And what I'm seeing on our side, Roger, is a major acceleration of people coming together. Like I've only, like I said, only been into this project for a couple of months, but the people that I've met and connected with and being able to share thoughts and opinions with in the time that I've been here has just astounded me. It's been a great experience so far. And what we're seeing, guys, is an opportunity, like Roger said, to finally put a venue in front of all our groups in this world, right around this planet, because this is a planetary problem. This is not Canada, the United States, or England, or any individual country. This is global. And the fact that we can bring all people together under one banner and let our voices be heard, well, buddy, that is pretty exciting to me. Pretty exciting. Pattie, don't you find that kind of exciting? I find that pretty bloody exciting, guys. It's time. It is time.
It is time. I've been hoping for this for so long. I've been talking and speaking to people, trying to bring them together, because it is the only solution. If we look at what we're facing and we continue to stay fractured, we're not going to make it.
We all bleed
this
the
is
same
their
blood,
game.
guys.
Yeah, we need to do it our way. Either way, the house of cards is coming tumbling down. We can't stop it. It's either going to be their way or it's going to be our way. I'm not talking about revolution. I'm saying they're bringing the house of cards down to reestablish the new house of cards. Now, we can either go along with them by doing nothing, by staying fractured, by letting our minds be swayed by the tube, and by the 15-minute blurbs that our politicians put out. Or we can go ahead and do what we're trying to do right now, come together outside of governments, outside of corruption, outside of control, freely, like we were meant to be, exchanging information and knowledge, growing and making the changes that benefit us instead of going along with their changes that benefit them. It's our world. We are the inheritors of this world. We come from this world. And we have every right to exist freely and in health and abundance. Looks like we lost Roger again for the moment. He's back.
Okay.
Roger, you broke up real bad.
All right. And the thing of it is, I can't help but believe somebody's listening to our conversation. Hello, NSA. How are you today?
Yeah, how are you guys
Hope
doing
today's
tonight?
going well. But as I want to delve a little bit deeper into what some people term as conspiracy theories. But I don't call them conspiracy theories. I call them conspiracies, but they're facts. Okay, I want to talk about the weapons that are being used against humanity. And I'm not talking about the United States going into Iraq and killing over 1.5 million people. I'm not talking about the Chinese going into border areas and killing millions of people. I'm not talking about the Russians going into Chechnya or anywhere else and killing a bunch. I'm talking about what's being perpetrated against mankind as a whole. And if you stop to think about this, we have, and I'm doing a series on this on the Liberty Beacon rant called The 4 Weapons of Mass Destruction Humanity May Not Survive. One of them being chemtrails, one of them being perpetual warfare, one of them being GMOs, and one of them being vaccines. Each and every one, scientists across the planet or peace-related people from across the planet are pushing back and saying, we are putting humanity in peril. Let's just start with one. Let's start with GMOs, okay? GMOs are proliferated across this planet. And even the countries that have kicked GMOs out and think they're safe are using genetically engineered toxins like Roundup and Agent Orange to kill weeds in their field. These are mechanisms. There is no doubt. The peer-reviewed studies have been done that are causing cancer, birth defects, sterility, and I could give you a list as long as my arm. These are known to be facts. What is being sprayed from the air, one of the largest components, is nano-sized particles of aluminum. There is a neurologist, several neurologists, that have put out information stating unequivocally that these cause severe damage to the nervous system and to the brain. And that's just one of the chemicals contained within. The United States is the most vaccinated country on this planet. We have the highest, the quickest rising infertility rate on this planet. Where does coincidence drop off? And it's a fact, jump in. And the fourth, of course, is perpetual warfare. We are in conflicts on in more countries on this planet simultaneously. And they are all being supported and sponsored by a massive majority of the governments across this planet. Where does coincidence stop? And it's a fact, jump in. We know that these are deadly to human physiology. We know what they're doing to us. But yet, our governments support them wholeheartedly. We can't even get labeling in the United States on GMOs. We are the most GMO'd country on the planet with over 85% of everything we eat containing poisons. And I don't say that because I don't know what I'm talking about. I say that because it's a fact. Now, this isn't going to kill you tomorrow. Getting a vaccine isn't going to kill you tomorrow. But over time, what they're doing is we're becoming infertile. Our cancer rates are soaring. Our autism rates are soaring. And as the most chemtrail, GMO'd, and vaccinated country on this planet, gee, go figure. We have the highest rate of autism, the highest rate of dementia, the highest rate of ADHD, and within the next 2 to 3 years, at the rise in cancer rates in this country. We will have the highest incidence of cancer per 1,000 on this planet as well. Where does coincidence leave off? And it's a fact jump in. So there are 4 weapons, and there's probably more if you count in things like HARP and other things, but the 4 main weapons of mass destruction that are being perpetrated on humanity legally and sponsored by the governments whose intention and stated mission is to protect you and I. This is what we need to be pushing back against. This is when you hear Pattie talking about us being poisoned, when you hear Barry talking about we have so much going on that's pushing against us at this point in time, these are the mechanisms. This is, and each and every one of them, if you come to this project and say, I wish to be a part of this project, your litmus test is the system broken? If you say, no, it's not, I'm sorry, but you're probably going to see the door in your face mighty quick. But if you say, yes, the system is broken, we don't give a damn why you think it's broken, because you have established a commonality with everybody in this project. And each and every one of these mechanisms needs to be pushed back against. So we need people who know about chemtrails. We need people who are experts on GMOs. We need people that know everything about all of these. And the base of knowledge out there in 7.5 billion people is mind-boggling. And when we start to accumulate that critical mass of knowledge, when we dispel the ignorance, then maybe we can dissuade the use of these weapons against humanity. Your thoughts, Barry?
You know, Roger, if everybody in this planet really knew what was going on, really knew, I mean, if they took the time and sat on the internet and did the studying, and it's so hard to wrap our heads around it, guys.
That's the ignorance.
And the depth of this corruption is so deep that, you know, the normal people, when we start telling them a little bit of this information, Roger, you can't wrap your head around it. It is so deep and so wide. All we're trying to do here, guys, is just point out information that will lead you to the same conclusions that I came to 3 or 4 years ago when I really started looking at corruption in government. That the system is broken, yet in the same mouthful, Roger, the system is working exactly the way they laid it out to work.
Yes.
It's working exactly. I mean, the bubble is about to burst. Our economies right now worldwide are absolutely in shambles. We don't want to get into that conversation because we could sit here like you're as educated as anybody on that, Roger, and you know how
yes.
perilous our financial systems are, and that's just one of the mitigating factors that can work against us right now, guys. We are sitting on a very, very pinnacle time right now in human history, and that's why it is so urgent that we share knowledge as fast and as many people as we possibly can.
Pattie
because knowledge is power.
Pattie put it out so well when she said they're going to collapse the system. Yes, they are.
They are.
And we can either ride along in our blissful ignorance, which won't be so blissful when all of this culminates, or we can push back against it and make sure that the rise from the ashes is as we intend it to be, not what's going to be forced on us. So, Pattie, that was so apropos. And I'd like you to speak to that a little bit more. Because if we can't see what we need to do at the end of the tunnel, the trip through the tunnel is going to be very perilous.
Yes, you're absolutely right, and it's the most important part, I think, of the equation is understanding that no matter how dire things look right now, no matter how much chaos they put out into the world, the fear that they try to cover the people with, the stress, all of these things that they're doing to us, it will soon, like a virus, it will reach the end of its life cycle. At that time, they're going to pull the plug because all along, this hasn't been just let's bring the people to their knees. No, their plan has always been to bring us to this point, to collapse everything that we know, everything that we rely on, everything that represents our security in our own personal existence, they're pulling the rug out from under us. It's what they have planned to do. But the reason being is it's because they want to move us to the next generation, to the next evolution of their control grid. And it's just like you put the cows in the pasture and you let them eat the grass for as long as they want, but sooner or later you want to move them to the better pasture where you can have more control over them, where you can get them fatter for market. Well, that's what they're doing to us. And when they collapse this world that we think we know so much about, once they collapse it and everything goes into what you have no conception of will be chaos, they're going to come up with a solution, because you're going to be crying out, please help me, help me, help me, and they're going to have a solution.
And
they're
most people will walk willingly down that path.
They will, Roger.
Unless
we educate them.
Unless they become educated and understand that this is something that must happen. It will happen. We cannot control anything about what they're doing right now. What we can do is become educated and become solution-based on getting through this, of picking up the pieces so that we can stand on our own when they come with their hand out to put the chains and the shackles back on. We can become one voice and one people and stand up together and say, no, we don't need you. We have all the knowledge. We have all the ability. We are the creators. We are the thinkers. We are the envisioners. We are the ones that created everything that you see, and we'll be the ones to create the new future.
We are the producers. You are so right. You can sit, a king can sit in his castle, but anything that's accomplished within his kingdom are accomplished by the hands of his subjects. So we are the creators. We are the builders. We are the scientists. We are the doctors. We are. And we contain a vast wealth of knowledge beyond anything that can be understood. The reason why it doesn't work for us at this point is because of all of the mechanism of division. And how do you and the ultimate two weapons? And I've mentioned one, and Pattie has mentioned the other, and I want to talk to that a little bit more because we've got about 10 minutes left. The first mechanism we talked about was basically control and ignorance. Okay, they're controlling what we know and keeping most people in blissful ignorance. What the second biggest control factor is, by a long shot, and outstrips ignorance, is fear. Fear throughout the history of mankind has been the best control mechanism for mankind ever devised by mankind. How do you get a vast majority of North America, being Canada and the United States, to believe that all Muslims are evil and it's all right to kill almost 2.5 million of them to date since 9/11? Well, you get us to fear them. You get us to believe they're subhuman. You get us to believe that there is no such thing as a good Muslim. You get us to talk about them in our circles, to demonize them. You get us to fear them. And everything that is perpetrated on us to increase their level of control has a fear factor to it. Fear is by far the most dominant mechanism of control ever devised by man's mind. Barry?
Absolutely, Roger. We live in a fear-driven society, but you know what? I find that fear is alleviated by knowledge, and that's why it's so important that we share the knowledge that we have, because it does alleviate fear. When you can look the devil in the eye and say, hey, devil, you are what you are, and we recognize you for what you are, or this evilness that's behind these people, we recognize you for what you are, and we're not going to allow this to happen. Man, that's my dream for 2014. If anything that we accomplish here tonight, Roger, I'd just like people to kind of envision what we're trying to do with this project, and get on board with this and help in any way possible. Like Roger said, the door is open. We are going to be addressing problems, but we're also going to be trying to offer solutions, because problems without solutions is a nowhere conversation. Pattie?
We all have a story to tell, and we need to come together and start telling the stories. That's how we did it in the past, and we didn't do too bad, you know. Uh, they say that without government there would be chaos. I beg to differ. Since we've had government, all we've had is chaos. I don't think it's working. And I agree also, Barry. Make no mistake. Everything that your administration is doing, everything that your government is doing, everything your Congress, everything your Supreme Courts are doing is not for your benefit. They benefit the corporations, and the corporations make the law. You are not a consideration. You are a human resource. This is not fear porn, it's fact. It is what allows you to understand the true meaning of your worth to them and then to realize your own true worth. You built everything. You did everything. You conceived everything. And they have taken your life.
And
In it. And they look
that's perfect.
Yeah, and they look back at you and they scrape a few crumbs off the table and say, go back to work. It's time that we started celebrating the fact that we are such a beautiful race of people with the promise and the creativity and the envisionment that will take us far beyond anything that we can even conceive. There's beauty out there that we have yet to create, and we are the ones to do it. We are the only ones that are going to do it. And we need to come together. We need to put away all the stuff that doesn't matter, all the stuff that colors our world in a negative fashion, because that's not our world. That's not who we are. So we know it's false. So let's get down to the real. Let's get down to the truth, and let's come from the heart. We can do this.
I agree.
I not only agree with that, but I'll give you a for instance. Because Pattie is so spot on in a lot of the things she says, and it triggers thoughts in my head. When she says that the government, that the administration, that the court system is not working for us. This is, in fact, one of the most corporatistic governments on the face of the earth. In 1932, when Mussolini was asked to describe fascism, he said fascism can more aptly be defined as corporatism, because what it is a blending of the power of large corporations and the state. Let me give you one for instance, okay? A quick for instance. The Monsanto Protection Act was snuck into the farming bill, the bill that puts out all the money for the farmers all across this country each year. And basically what it allowed was Monsanto to enjoy the same legal immunity. They couldn't be sued for anything their products did. Whether their products poisoned people, killed people, caused birth defects, they couldn't be sued, just like the vaccine industry enjoys today. And our government gave them that. Well, let me make Pattie's point right now. Who do you think wrote the Monsanto Protection Act? Would it surprise anybody listening to this show if I told you it was Monsanto? And who was the only entity that could possibly gain from that? Gee, that would be Monsanto and the other biotech industry, partners of theirs. So what you see is a government that is willing to throw your health aside, because there's 1,100 scientists that have signed petitions around this planet stating that GMOs are poisoning us and changing our genome for the worse, and that they will be the doom of humanity. But yet, our government passes a law giving them immunity from prosecution. And if we know the evils, you know our government must know the evils. Now, we overcame that as a people, because all of us out here who beat the drum on GMOs, we screamed and hollered to all of our supporters and all of our listeners to call your senators, because this is where it happened. Get a hold of your senator and say, if you ever hope to be reelected, you will not. When this farm bill comes up for renewal, you will not have the Monsanto Protection Act renewed in that bill. And guess what? It wasn't. So for a few short months, they enjoyed the tyranny of just nobody could sue them. And the people spoke up, and guess what? We took it back away from them. This is an example of exactly what Pattie said, and it's an example of where the Liberty Beacon Project wants to go. We know what happens when we speak as with one voice. We have seen it. It's not a guess. We're not going into uncharted territory here. This, my friends, is a proven fact. What we need to do is perpetrate this on a global scale. And once we all talk with that unified voice, nothing can stand in front of us. If you got any closing words for us, Pattie, and then I'd like to pass it to Barry.
Yeah, I'd just like to tell you a little joke about how Monsanto did their study on their GMO ready, their Roundup ready GMO seeds.
Don't get me started.
Yeah. Well, they took a dozen rats, and it was supposed to be a 6-month study, right? So they started the study, but all the rats except for one died in 3 months' time. So they wrote a new study. And they put 13 rats in there. And they did it for 3 months. And they had one rat living and in 3 months. So they said it was a success. No problems. That's your government. I mean, this is a joke, but I wouldn't be surprised to find out that it went something like that. This is who we are. We are run by a corporate government. They make the rules. They make the lies. They sell the products. We die. That's the way it goes, and it doesn't change until we change it, and we can. That's the unique and wonderful and brilliant thing about all of this. We are the monkey wrench in the machine. We do it. We can take them down. Just by coming together.
I'm standing right beside you, Pattie.
Yeah. All right, Barry. Anything you need to say? Because I think we got about a minute left.
I won't take more than about 15 seconds here, guys. I really just open people's hearts up and really look at our responsibility to our children and our future of our planet right now is very, very dismal. And we do have the power to change it. Through knowledge, we can make the changes that are necessary, but we have to act now. I wouldn't want to say any more than I urge people that time is getting very, very short for us to do this. We don't have 10 or 20 years. So please, look inside your heart. Look at your future for your children. I mean, the earth is crying to us right now. We got to answer the call, guys, or we will not have a future. Roger.
Well, I want to thank you very much, Pattie. Every time we get a chance to talk to you, it's a special treat. Barry, it's always good to have you here. I know I picked the right person to do this show with me. And thank you, everybody, for listening. This has been Can You Believe It? Episode number 2, brought to you by the Liberty Beacon Project. Have a great evening.